Super Mario Land launched in 1989 alongside the Game Boy, initially being intended as the flagship system seller, but it ended up playing second fiddle to a rather niche indie puzzle game. That's not to say this game didn't sell well though, it amassed a whopping 18 million copies. Very similar to Super Mario Bros, like very similar to Super Mario Bros. Same sort of level design, get from A to B, screen doesn't scroll backwards, bop enemies on the head. To a viewer, these games would seem much more samey than they actually are though. The physics are very different. Mario's jumps are much more inflexible and aren't quite as sensitive as the home console iterations. The only real actual criticism I have for the physics of this game is if you walk off of a platform as opposed to jumping off it, Mario will smack the ground like he has a 500 kilo ankle weight on. Also, the actual level design doesn't allow you to stretch your legs quite as much as Super Mario Bros. Of course, you could blaze through a stage with a little bit of memorization, but I found more often than not I could sprint in the original game and just rely on my reactions. This game, the obstacles are in your way just a little bit more. It's not bad, just different. It just takes some getting used to, but try and play this game like Super Mario 1, you'll fall flat, but I do prefer when a handheld version of an IP differentiates itself. That's why New Super Mario Bros. Is remembered more fondly than the Super Mario Advance series, because it was actually something new before they made the same game 3 times, that is. Considering the limited colour palette the Game Boy has, this game has surprisingly more visual variety than the original Super Mario Bros. Now, of course, I am playing this on a Game Boy Color. The original looked like this. Well, this. So it's even more commendable that they put so much detail into this game. Most of it we wouldn't even be able to appreciate until years later. All this detail is compact too. This game is short. I blew through this whole game in an hour. It's split between 12 levels, 4 worlds, so 3 levels each. Each world ends with a boss, 2 of which you just get past and hit the switch that activates the Task Force X internal explosive. And the other 2 you gun down in cold blood in these Ikaruga-esque shoot 'em up stages. Well, technically speaking, you're only flying in one of them. The other you're a submarine, but they control the same. Avoid enemies and blast your way through. This game's actually when Daisy debuts as the Princess of Sarasaland. Kind of a dumb name, but I do love the aesthetic of this world. Yeah, it's Bizarroville, but that's what makes it distinct. A little rough around the edges, but it's so short and fun that it's hard to really get frustrated at. Now, Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. That's where it's really at. Immediately look at how much more this draws from Mario World. Look at that water rippling! But these impressive graphics come with a price. There are frequent slowdowns. It's nothing unplayable, but admittedly it is less than ideal, which is why I will be playing Super Mario Land 2 DX, a fan-made ROM hack of the game. All this ROM hack does is give the game a more accurate colour palette, a la Link's Awakening DX, and fixes the performance issues. It also adds the option to play as Luigi, but the original game didn't have that, so we can just ignore that. It's still effectively the same game. Everything is enlarged in this game, so you see less overall, but the game is actually designed around this point of view, so it doesn't feel quite as claustrophobic as you'd initially think. Controls are a lot more forgiving, much more floaty than Mario Land 1, and you don't have that jarring death drop anymore. Because enemies are no longer minuscule, it's easier to aim for them when you're jumping. Honestly, the general level design is much simpler than the first game, much more fitting for a handheld now. It's condensed short bursts of fun. This game has numerous zones and bosses bursting at the seams with character. Pumpkin Zone must be close to Crystal Lake. Turtle Zone, Mario Zone, probably my favourite zone in the game. This is when Nintendo had a little bit of edge. It has a level where you enter through his crotch and the entire stage is comprised of balls. Groovy. Also, the boss of this stage is the 3 little pigs. Houses and all, straw, wood and brick. And Space Zone. Probably my least favourite zone in the game. At least it's only 2 levels long though. Also, you can tackle these stages in any order, so if you get stuck somewhere or frustrated with one level, just go try something else. This has all the markings of a more modern game. It doesn't have any cheap tricks to knock you back, and it prioritises fun, which of course is why we play video games in the first place. This game gets its subtitle from the 6 golden coins you must collect throughout the game. No, not the thousands of golden coins that you'll stumble across in every stage. These are different golden coins. Kinda dumb they labeled these as golden coins because all coins in the Mario games up to this point were golden, but then again, this game was never really supposed to be in colour, so well, whatever. You get one of the special golden coins for every boss you beat, and they all tally up to unlock the door to the final stage. This is an evil stage, man, with difficulty comparable to the end of Mario 3, but it's all worth it for the final boss. Evidently this was before he beat his crack addiction, Poor guy. He alternates between the different power-ups Mario has access to, and his attack patterns change. A worthy final boss for such a wonder-filled game. It is quite odd to think that this game was never meant to be seen in colour, and even more odd to note that Nintendo didn't make a deluxe port themselves. Visually, this has more going on than the NES games. I'd honestly rather replay this over Mario 3, if we're talking about the DX version, that is. If we're putting these two games against each other in their original states, then yeah, Mario 3 takes it every time, undeniably. This game's just raw, unfiltered fun. Nothing ever drags out, each zone has its own individual theme. For the duology as a whole, I have to give my respect, not only for debuting Daisy and Wario, but for pushing the Game Boy to its limit and technically surpassing it. The Game Boy was holding these games back. Only years later can these games realise their full potential. So far we're 4 for 5. Fuck you, Mario 2. Stay tuned for my Super Mario World review. That's about all I have to say, yeah, cool. Thanks for watching, stay tuned.